Atheism, according to the Orthodox Christian understanding of atheism, was presented by St. Gregory Palamas, and I have received this teaching from my spiritual father, who of course received it from St. Gregory Palamas, a great saint of the church, formerly a monk and chanter on Mount Athos, and then the Archbishop of Thessalonica, who revealed a profoundly important dogma of the essence and energies of God. But what did St. Gregory say about atheism? There are three kinds of atheists. The odds are very likely, according to the Orthodox definition of atheism, that you, watching this video right now, are an atheist. It's possible that you're not. If you're not an atheist, you are in the radical, tiny of tiniest, tiny fragmentary minority. So the first kind of an atheist you're all familiar with. They're all atheists per Orthodox Christianity. First kind of atheism. Someone who says there is no God, or literally translated in the Old Testament, someone who says no God. Like a little baby. No, mommy. No God. This is the first kind of an atheism, which is famous in our time thanks to people like Sam Harris, Richard Dawkins, and so on and so forth. But you knew about that kind already, I suppose. The second kind of an atheist is someone whose faith is any other faith than Orthodox Christianity, which means if you are not a baptized Orthodox Christian or catechumen in the Orthodox Church who believes all of the Orthodox dogma and preserves the holy tradition, if you are not that, if you are anything other than that, for say a Protestant, a Papist, some quote-unquote Christian confession other than Holy Orthodoxy, or if you are a baptized Orthodox Christian, like say Jonathan Pajot, or other famous writers and speakers of our day who are baptized Orthodox Christians, but whose teaching in public is not faithful to the dogma and the canons of the church, those too are atheists. Some famous atheists of this category would be, say, Dr. Jordan Peterson. He's absolutely an atheist, according to the Orthodox understanding of that. But as I said, so would be Jonathan Pajot, who has said things that I have heard him say publicly and on camera, which are direct violations of the dogma and the canons of the church, which is to say his personal faith is not Orthodox, even though he's a baptized Orthodox Christian. So the second category is very, very large. It would include, for example, quote-unquote traditionalist Catholics, evangelical Protestants, any creed at all, any deistic, theistic, any religious approach which is not specifically a baptized or being catechized, because we count catechumens amongst the Orthodox, they get an Orthodox funeral if they die before baptism, by the way. In other words, if you're preparing to become Orthodox because you believe that it's true and you die before your baptism, you're still counted as Orthodox, and the church even gives an Orthodox funeral in that case. So if you're anything other than a baptized Orthodox Christian who believes the Orthodox faith in its fullness, you're an atheist, which means that many of the people in the church today, like say the Patriarch of Constantinople, who my spiritual father says is an enemy of the Holy Trinity and an enemy of the Mother of God, or say the Pope of Rome, who is a Satanist, both of these people would tell you that they're Christians. The Patriarch of Constantinople, Bartholomew, would say that he is, of course, an Orthodox Christian. According to the definition given by St. Gregory Palamas, as Orthodox define it, both the Patriarch of Constantinople and Dr. Jordan Peterson, and also the Pope of Rome and any other religious person who is not a baptized Orthodox Christian or a catechumen in the church believing all of the Orthodox faith in its fullness, which is to say submitting to it. Again, this would include most of the bishops in the church today. Those are all atheists as well. Here's the third category of atheist. This is where it gets scary. this is where, as I said, it's very likely that if you're watching this video, according to the Orthodox understanding of atheism, you are probably one. Here's the third category. This is the scariest part of the threefold definition of atheism for Orthodox understanding. This would be a baptized Orthodox Christian who believes the fullness of the Orthodox faith, but who, when the dogma and holy tradition of the church are under attack, remains silent. If that's you, you too are judged an atheist by God, and you will stand before the dread judgment seat of Christ. Never mind that you're a baptized Orthodox Christian who believed the fullness of the teaching of the church, who submitted to it humbly. Doesn't mean you didn't make an error, it just means you submit to that teaching, and if your errors were corrected by someone who knows the true faith, you submit to that correction. Like, say, the famous St. Augustine of Hippo, who had some errors, but when he was corrected, he submitted and spoke out in defense of the faith. But if you're a baptized Orthodox Christian who believes the fullness of the teaching of the church submissively, but you do not speak up when the dogma and the holy tradition of the church is under attack from somebody inside, a priest, a bishop, a monk, or somebody outside, like a politician, the Pope of Rome, whatever. If you don't speak up under those circumstances, you too are an atheist. That means that most of the world is atheistic. Most of the world is unenlightened. Most of the world is ignorant. And remember the second and third categories if you're a baptized Orthodox Christian. If you're a baptized Orthodox Christian who does not believe, for example, the canons of the church make it very clear that Holy Orthodoxy is the only way of salvation. If you're one of those Orthodox like Jonathan Pajot who gets up and says, well, I don't say that other kinds of Christians aren't really Christians. Well, the canons of the church say that. Or I don't believe that it's not true that maybe some other kind of Christian can be saved. Well, the canons of the church speak to this very clearly. If you don't affirm the dogma and holy tradition of the church and believe it all, never mind if you're baptized, you're not Orthodox, you're an atheist, according to St. Gregory Palamas. And even if you are a baptized Orthodox Christian, fully believing, submissively receiving the teaching of the church, but you do not speak up when the dogma and the holy tradition is under attack. In this case, it's likely being under attack from your own bishops, maybe from someone in your parish, or very likely from the secular authorities, from that satanic hegemony which is running every country in the world. If you don't speak up under that situation, you're guilty of what St. Basil the Great calls the sin of silence. And according to St. Gregory Palamas, you too will be judged an atheist. This is ignorance, ignorance, and ignorance. And the fathers say that the passion of ignorance, selfishness, cowardice is the number one passion that damns most people, more than any of the other passions. So now you know what atheism is, and I hope you're not one.